Namaskar everyone, a very good evening to one and all. Today, I, Nishtha Bajpayee, your host for the session, on behalf of Samvardhan Trust, welcome you all for this talk session being organized under the aegis of Vagarth, an online lecture series of Samvardhan Trust. I now ask everyone to join me in welcoming our guest and speaker for today's session, Dr. Sanghamitra R. Verman. Thank you, ma'am, for agreeing to be here today and grace us with your words. We are also honored to have Professor Yuthika Mishra, a chairperson and professor at Vivekanand College, University of Delhi, Dr. Vedbrat Tiwari, our general secretary, and assistant professor at College of Vocational Studies, Dr. Shashi Bhushan, our managing trustee and assistant professor at Satyavati College, and our revered EC members. For all those people who are joining us for the first time, let me give you a brief overview of our organization. Samvardhan Trust, established in 2017, is a Delhi based non governmental and non profit organization which seeks to preserve, promote, and popularize the spirit of our diverse culture and heritage. The Trust seeks to revitalize the artistic and folk heritage of our country, which is the carrier of our cultural legacy. The vision is to preserve our rich heritage, to protect and empower the environment, and to empower the individuals involved in this pursuit. All this is done to be with an aim to promote women empowerment, education, national integration, social harmony, universal brotherhood, and cultural tourism. Understanding our responsibility as a social organization during the troubled times of COVID 19, we had conducted many events through the digital platform like Knockdown in Lockdown, an online singing and dancing competition, celebration of International Yoga Day, Guru Purnima, workshop on painting in UPSC, musical celebration of Independence Day, international webinar on cultural tourism, storytelling sessions, Teachers' Day celebration, and international conference on Hindi Divas. Under Vagarth, which is a lecture series, we have conducted many insightful and thought provoking lectures, where many eminent scholars like Professor Bharat Gupta, Dr. Niranjan Mehto, Professor Shiv Shankar Mishra, Srimati Malvika Joshi, Professor Aditya Gupta, Mustaq Khan Sahab, Professor Santosh Kumar Shukla, and Professor Koshalendra Das have enlightened us through their knowledge and experience. We also organized a grand event like Deepotsav in 2022. It was a talk session where we had renowned personality like Pandit Chetan Joshi ji and Padma Shri awardees Nalini and Kamlini ji as our esteemed speakers, which was then followed by a folk dance competition. The event turned out to be a huge success as we were featured on various media platforms. Along with these academic endeavors, the Trust also frequently organizes heritage walks in collaboration with different institutions as a part of Samyati, our heritage exploration initiative to help the common folks in exploring the neglected richness of our culture. We have conducted visits to the National Crafts Museum, National Museum New Delhi, the Adi Mahotsav Tribal Fair, National Gallery of Modern Arts, Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, Delhi Hut, and many more such places. Also, on a high note, we would like to announce that we'll be launching the inaugural edition of Samvardhan Trust's annual magazine in the coming month. Now, I would like to invite Professor Yuthika Mishra, our chairperson, to kindly deliver the welcome address to our respected dignitary and the audience.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nishtha. You really gave a brilliant presentation about Samvardhan. I'm really impressed. And now, when once you were speaking, I just went a little bit nostalgic. Oh, we have done so much, So, so that's a very good introduction you gave about the organization, and I really am so impressed by what Samvardhan Trust has been doing. And again, we are at it. I would like to welcome Dr. Sanghamitra Verman, who has kindly accepted to be today's speaker on such an important topic. Such a lovely topic, also so close to our hearts. Textiles. We daily deal in textiles and all. And at the same time, I would like to welcome everyone, all the interns, all the eminent audience. I can see some very senior professors, scholars, executive संवर्धन एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी मेंबर्स, सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत, हार्दिक अभिनंदन। और मैं विशेष रूप से संघमित्रा जी को फिर से आपका स्वागत करना चाहूंगी। अभिनंदन संघमित्रा जी।
Thank
ये
you.
जो विषय आपने इतना सुंदर चुना है, जैसा कि अभी निष्ठा बता रही थी कि वागर्थ में इसी तरह के हम अलग अलग तरह के विषयों पर लेते, बड़े डाइवर्स, आप सबने सुना जो उन्होंने बताया कि कोई भी और लेकिन जो एक संवर्धन का मोटो है, प्रिजर्व, प्रमोट, पॉपुलराइज, उसी उद्देश्य से, क्योंकि ये जो टेक्सटाइल की परंपरा है, द वॉट एवर द टेक्सटाइल डिजाइन और द टेक्सटाइल मटेरियल traditions that we have is so vast, you know. I'm sure you're going to tell us all that. We are so eager to listen to what you have to say. But I was just wondering, what are you going to? I mean, how will you put it all in 1 hour or 40 minutes? You know, it's so
It's
vast. You
difficult.
know? Yeah, maybe. So maybe you'll give us some very important highlights. Just 1 or 2 points I wanted to touch upon because I can't resist, speaking on this. The the textile design tradition of India is the textile tradition itself is so rich and varied, and it's not just textiles; it reflects our cultural ethos, of the country. भारतवर्ष जैसे आपने लिखा है यहाँ, और इतना उसका वास्ट इम्पैक्ट है। इट इज मेरे बारे में तो ध्यान आया कि कैसे विमेन इन द रूरल एरियाज यूज स्मॉल स्क्रेप्स ऑफ क्लॉथ्स। मतलब हमारा टेक्सटाइल इतना विविध है, इतना रिच है कि हम गांव से लेके राजमहल तक, झोपड़ी से लेके राजमहल तक उसका प्रिजर्व्ड हुआ है और आज भी है वो उपलब्ध। जो महिलाएं छोटे कपड़े ले लेके उसको पैचअप करके क्विल्ट बनाती थी, है ना, ब्रेडेड ब्रेडेड, उसको तरह तरह का नाम सुजनी कहते हैं हमारे उधर बिहार में। तो वो सब जगह है, हर जगह वो मिलता है, छोटे कपड़ों में आप छोटे छोटे स्टिचेस लगा के। सो आई एम श्योर वी आर गोइंग टू सी सम ऑफ द वेरी ब्यूटिफुल थिंग्स दैट यू आर गोइंग टू टेल अस। एंड फाइनली आई वुड जस्ट लाइक टू कंक्लूड बाय सेइंग दैट this has really shaped our country. The rich textile design and the tradition has influenced it is, and the history is full of all this. So, since you are a history professor, I'm sure your talk is going to be so rich, and we are all eager. So, instead of me just rattling out, I'm sure we are all ears to hear to Dr. Sanghamitra Vermanji. Thank you, everyone. Once again, welcome to this show and to this session of talk series, which we
Thank you.
call Vagarth. Thank you, everyone. You can take over, Nishtha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. We'd also like to welcome renowned fluentist and our EC member, Padma Bhushan Shri Chetan Joshi ji. Now, today's lecture on Textile Traditions of Bharatvarsh will be delivered by Dr. Sanghamitra R. Verman, who is an assistant professor at the Department of History at Jesus and Mary College, University of Delhi. Dr. Sanghamitra specializes in ancient Indian history, with the area of research being ancient Indian textile crafts. Her research is mainly focused on the socio-economic and cultural history of ancient and early medieval India, Indian cultural heritage, arts, crafts, and handicrafts of Indian and in ancient Indian architecture. Her recent research endeavors are focused on cross-cultural influences through Indian Ocean maritime textile trade and how discrete cultures were synthesized through it. She is studying textile motifs and patterns and looking into their intrinsic meaning and the rationale behind using. She has written many articles pertaining to her area of research and related fields, which have been published in various international peer reviewed journals, edited books, magazines, and newspapers of national and international repute. Indeed, an inspiring personality and an academician in true sense. Also, a reminder that there will be a question answer session at the end of the lecture. You may send your questions along with your name in the chat box or on the WhatsApp group, which would then be conveyed by our team to for Dr. Sanghamitra's benefit. So be ready with your questions typed in the end and do mention your name along with the question. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Sanghamitra for the much awaited lecture.
Thank you so much, Nishtha. Um, um, and thank you so much, Yuthika Mishra Madam, Vedbrat Tiwari, who has been my colleague long time back, and still we are very good friends. And good evening, everyone. And I'm really humbled to be a part of this Vagarth 2025 lecture series, and all the team members of Samvardhan Trust for popularizing, for promoting our Indian arts, which is one of the most valuable treasure we have. And for that, very intrinsically related is the textile traditions of India. And it is, as Yuthika Mishra ma'am said it out very rightly, that it is very difficult to fathom from it where it starts, and it is such a wide area. You cannot actually touch upon every area in 1 hour. So I have designed this talk in a way so that I start with the history of Indian textiles. And since I'm a teacher of history, so I will start with the first initial evolution of textiles as a craft in Indian subcontinent. Thereby, apart from that, I would like to say that it is only one aspect to this entire ocean, because we are not touching into the tribal textiles, into so many tribal folk arts and all, because it's all interlinked with each other. Because if, I'll be not touching on the symbols also per se, because it requires a separate session for that. So I will be starting with a presentation now. I'll be sharing one presentation because it is very much visually appealing. The textile, you I cannot explain it until and unless um, we have the visuals with it. Just give me one moment. Can you see it clearly? Can all of you see? Okay, okay,
Yeah, it's
okay,
not visible. Yeah.
okay, okay.
If you are doing PPT, at times you have to come out of PPT and slideshow method. That's what I have realized, but maybe you can try.
Mm, I think in this
Yeah,
I
no.
can, yeah,
Yeah,
you can see the PPT.
yeah,
And
perfect.
yeah, okay. So I will start with this first slide. And this first background is a very favorite of mine. It is a brocade. Okay, and this is known as the Chand Tara design of the Banarasi brocade. And I will start with Atharvaveda. It's one of the verse of the Atharvaveda, which personifies the day and night as two sisters, the warp and the weft, as they are weaving the warp and the weft, and thereby the days and the nights are coming. So you can probably fathom that how old that even the weaving has been described in the Atharvaveda, that is quite a early Vedic literature. Now, when we talk about history as a textile craft, it is as old as that of the human civilization. It's a very, very major component of material culture. It is a product of definitely technology. It is a cultural symbol. It is a work of art and also an item of trade. So it manifests the development of human culture. It is an expression of India's rich cultural heritage, and it also evolved out of a creative urge reflecting the joy of the tribulations, struggles, and triumphs of the craftsman. So, this is the introduction which I thought for giving a salute to the textile traditions of Bharatvarsh. The second, as you see, that it's very important to say, I mean, just it has been pointed out earlier by Yuthika ma'am, that it also talks about the hierarchy. ये झोपड़ियों में भी पहना जाएगा, सब लोग टेक्सटाइल्स को पहनते हैं. So it's also a hierarchy. The more you are having the expensive textiles, it also shows your social positioning in the society. So if I say that when is this thread was first passed by the shuttle, so we find a very very wide lacuna. Because why? Because it has perished with time. It is a perishable item, so it has, we only collect it in fragments, and thereby we try to weave a story of the textiles by from the various fragmentary remains, from the remains in the text, in the inscriptions, in the sculptures, in the paintings. But if you look into every textile as an art or as a craft, it has never faced any slump or stagnation. Rather, it has moved ahead, it has grown, it has flourished with time. So thereby a topographical variation, I mean, where are you belonging from in a geographical area, your mineral resources, your water sources, your flora, fauna are all very, very contributory factor in the development of a very distinctive textile heritage of a particular region. So thereby, as also it is also very important, it plays a very important role in the socio-economic and the spiritual interconnections. It talks about hierarchy, it talks about the gender, class, wealth, and as it is very, very portable, it is one of the most important medium of transit through commercial exchanges, and thus it has gone from India to the various parts of the world. And we will now look into further delve into the history of textiles and how the journey of the textile continues. And one more thing I would like to point out here is that the arts and the crafts of the textile, who are these artisans, the craftsmen, they has been largely ignored in this entire process. Even if we look into the social positioning of these weavers in the in the Manusmriti, or in our didactic text, or in our dharmashastric text, we find that they are in the lowest level of the social hierarchy. So the toils of these artisans, craftsmen has been highly ignored in the history. So as we weave with the history, our first thing is our sources. Now, literary sources, I would like to say that the Vedic literature, the early Vedic literature, the late Vedic literature, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, Buddhist text, mainly the Jatakas, which contains more than 500 stories of previous births of Buddha, which contains enormous number of stories which are basically linked with the textiles. Kautilya's Arthashastra, immense storehouse of this information. Again, Jain Sutra. The Jain, they have a book called Brihat Kalpa Sutra, which also throws a great amount of light into the monastic costumes, also the costumes of the commoners as well. We also find the Chinese travelogues, the writings of Huan Sang Faiyan, and also the classical literature. Now, what is this classical literature? Now, there are many Greek sailors who used to come to India, and they has written massively on India, their journey, what they have encountered, what things they have seen, and they have also told a lot about textiles, and special mention like Megasthenis Indica. And thereby we also see Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, which is a compilation of the various fragmentary writings of this classical literature. Then, as we move ahead with the Gupta period, we find Kalidasa's works, the Kalidasa's Kumarasambhav, Meghdut, Raghuvamsham, Ritusamhar, Vigyanam Shakuntalam, and also this Bana Bhatta's Harshacharit, which also had a splendid description of the textiles. Nevertheless, when we look into, so coming out of the literary text, I would like to point out now to the sculptures. Now, if you look, this sculpture is basically from the Patna Museum, and if you see these weaves and these crafts and the bejeweled women, and belonging to the modern period, and this is again, if we look into the bas reliefs of the Bharut and the Sanchi, Karle caves, Gandhar, from the Gandhar, from the reliefs of the Amravati, Nagarjun Konda, they also throws ample amount of light on the high standard of the contemporary costume textiles and its ornamentation. Now all this information, it goes into fades away when we look into the Ajanta murals. What a splendid visual extravaganza when we look into the Ajanta frescoes. If we look into these women, they are wearing different kind of ornamentation. If you clearly look into I'm placing my cursor. If you look into this, these are bandhani patterns. These are related to the tie-dyed textiles or the resist-dyed textiles, what we call. So if you look into the blouse of this female also, numerous kind of textiles, patterning, etc. can be gleaned through the Ajanta murals. So these designs, the styles, and one thing I would like to say, if you look into the Indian design, and especially if you buy anything of the very traditional Indian sari, you will see the designs are very simple. They have lines, they have zigzags, they have crisscross, they have stars. So the simplicity is the aesthetics of Indian design. Now, when we carefully examine Ajanta mural, we distinctively find out five kind of textiles which is coming down from the ages from ancient India. These are brocades, these are fine muslins, these are tie dye, bandhana, and embroidery. So now I'll start talking about the beginning of the evolution of the textile. So this is you could now fathom that I'm coming out of the sources and I'm going directly into the history of textiles. So this is the very common and very famous priest king of Harappan civilization that we know, and he's wearing a trefoil pattern. Now, if we closely look into the trefoil pattern, it looks that these trefoil patterns are not, they are coming out. I mean, these are like a imposed kind of a thing. So it said that probably this was a art of embroidered shawl which he is wearing as a cloth. Now, what is the first earliest evidence of textile we have in India? Now, the first evidence of the textiles in India comes from Mohenjo-daro, and that is again we find a fragment which is actually we can't see it in our naked eye. It is a fragment of a microscopic fragment rather of a madder dyed fabric which was sticking to a silver vase, and it is the earliest datable evidence of a true cotton fabric with ornamentation. So what I mean by that is that as I said, that it was sticking to a silver vase, and maybe the salt, metallic salt of the silver has impregnated the cloth, and somehow it got, somehow it survived the hazards of this huge timeline, and thereby we see that this kind of a very microscopic fragment has actually survived the time. And when we this was studied and this was examined in the Pune lab, and it was find out that it was not only a cotton fragment, but it was also dyed in red color, which is known as a madder color. And there was also used of the mordants. What is a mordant? Mordant is this thing which actually fixes the color with that of the cloth. So we find that, and moreover, we also find numerous needles of bronze, copper from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, which also indicates the fact that there were embroidery, needlecraft during that time. And moreover, this priest king, the shawl he is wearing, it also seems that he is wearing a embroidered one. Apart from that, we also find numerous dye vats in Harappa sites, and which is again, which indicates that there was a dyeing process, which was very common. So we also have that evidence. Now, when we look, so as I'm talking about evolution, after this Harappa, when we leave this proto-historical period and moves towards the historical period, rather the Vedic period, we see that the written stuffs are coming out, and the Vedic literature, the first reference of the cotton is found from Apashtamba Shrauta Sutra. I'm again repeating Apashtamba Shrauta Sutra. The first earliest reference of the cotton is found in the Vedic literature. Now, again, when we see that in Vedic literature, there are many words like Tantu, Tantra, Vaya, Mayuk, and these are all related to, sometimes warp, oof, weaver, weaving craft, etc. When we look into the Buddhist sources, Jatakas, as I said, that many stories were related to weaving and the weavers, and even the Jataka mentions about, gives a special mention to Kasi or Varanasi, which is a repeat mentioned about the most beautiful quality of the clothes were actually manufactured in Kasi. So it is not only now that the Banaras is known for its textile craft, but it is also from timeless period that they were very important. Now, these are the two visual representation, sketches rather, from the Mauryan period. Now, Mauryan period is a watershed in the Indian history, marking the progress towards historical period and thereby the most important source of literary source to understand Arth is the Arthashastra, Kautilya's Arthashastra, which contains very, very important information. Now, in Arthashastra, it's a didactic literature which talks about weaving, or it talks about the superintendent of the weaving, and the term was Sutradhaksha. So, who is a Sutradhaksha? Who employs efficient weavers? He for manufacturing of the threads, coats, clothes, etc. And not only that, the textile manufacturing was a taxable income. Arthashastra also mentions that there were guilds of weavers. Kautilya also eloquently discusses about the various types of textiles and also important manufacturing places of the textile. So, from the ornamentation which we find among these women, and if you look into this aesthetics of the ornamentation, textile ornamentation, if you look into the beauty of these women, they are far ahead in styling than today's women. We must say that. Next is, I'm again taking a bas relief of Amravati. It is a, if you can see that it is a boat which is carrying the Buddhist symbol. So it's from the Amravati, first century BCE. And again, if you look into the Bharat Sanchi bas reliefs and also the bas reliefs of Nagarjun Konda or Amravati, you will find that there are rich sources of textile patterns and designs, and the society was quite fashionable. They used to wear simple garments, and but in a way that their draping style was very interesting. Now, Dharani Kataka, which is the modern Amravati, is the ancient name is Dharani Kataka. It was a very important prolific center of Buddhism under the Satavahana period because they got the patronage from the Satavahana, and there were many storytelling through the bas relief. So if you look into Bharat Sanchi, if you look into Amravati sculpture, every bas relief or every sculpture is talking about the stories related to Buddha. And by gleaning through this bas relief, we could probably understand that what was the stylization of that period, what kind of textiles they were using. Now, the next slide. The next slide is that it's a bas relief. You can see from a panel I have taken, and it's a boat on which many men are boating basically. So it is representing that the many people were using the huge boats during that time, and it depicted the maritime trading activity. and thus I am rightly referring to the classical accounts. So the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, contains the various fragments of writings like Megasthenes Indica, Pliny's Natural History, and all these Greek texts. It gives us a very, very interesting details of the voyage, of the coastline, of the people whom they are encountering, and thus very, very valuable information about the contemporary times. Now, since I am referring to classical literature, now I'll show you a very interesting picture. Now, if you see this picture, it seems that the tree is flowering with ships. So it is actually Herodotus in some point has written that India has wild trees that bear fleece as their fruit. So because they did not had any concept that a tree can produce something like cotton like things, so he from his own imagination he has written this, and based on his imagination this is a visual representation. So these people, the Greeks, or the Latin literature, which is the Greek travelogues, which we have, talks about Indian cotton and muslins, and also very very bright colors which are used in this cloth, and they doesn't fade away with repeated washing. That was very very interesting to them, and it also shows that how this. The Indians were great master dyers, which maybe was not available during that time in the West. Now, India's cotton thus become a hot favorite in demand in back in Rome. And why I am saying this? Because Megasthenes Indica, Arian, and Cetheus, three of them has mentioned that cotton was in great demand back in their place. And thereby Indian started, we do not know when this trading started. I mean, we do not know who started trading first. Rather, we know that what is the period of this Indo-Roman trade. But this period, when we look into the various accounts, I would like to pinpoint here the Pliny the Younger's record, which is around 200 BCE. He is citing to the word carbocina. Now, it is a carbocina is basically Sanskrit का कपास है. तो ये जो कॉटन का कपास है इसको they are speaking it or referring it as carbocina. So next, I would like to say, just as I said, that it was the Indian cotton and muslin become the hot favorite trading item among the Romans, and the first 2 centuries. I mean, the first century C, second century C, there was a considerable increase in the trade between India and the Rome, and probably it was the political stability of the Kushans and the Satavahanas in the Deccan, and that also coincided with the establishment of the Roman Empire in the West. And this political stability actually paved the way for the economic growth, and textile became one of the most very, very important commodity in the Indo-Roman trade. And to say that this trade was in favor of India, the India reaped a huge amount of profit through this trade. In fact, one record says that they were lamenting. Pliny the Elder was lamenting to the Roman senator that please do something, because most of our bullion is actually moving towards India and making us economically vulnerable. So I would like to say that this time it is the left hand side are some of the representation of the boats Satavahana time, and also in the right hand side it is a Ajanta painting. Though Ajanta painting were done for a long timeline, but it also shows that they were very very well acquainted with this maritime trade, because even in the coins, this is Satavahana coin, you can see the repeated mention of the boats in the coin. This is again a coin of the Nero. and it is actually minted in order to commemorate the opening of the harbor at Ostia, which is a Roman port. It is in Italy. Now, from the Emperor Augustus' time, we find a new kind of economic relationship was inaugurated between India and the Roman Empire. So, what is the archaeological evidences to it? हमें बहुत से coins मिले हैं. Arika may to say, we have got Roman amphorae wine vessel, we have got Roman coins, and also this is in tandem with that of the classical writers, this the classical writers whom I am referring to, Herodotus, Pliny, Megasthenes, etc. They are also telling the same. They are, even Pliny is complaining of the huge drain of gold bullion from Rome to India. In fact, Pliny is also saying that the Roman women were very, very fond of wearing Indian pearls on their shoes. They used to decorate their dressing by wearing pearls on it. They were very fond of Indian muslin. So we see that all these were actually documented, that it was there. It was there. It was a very important time. And we also find, and it is in the Madras Government Museum, where which with all these archaeological evidences of the coins of the Tiberius, Claudius, Nero, we have this. And in the meantime, I would also like to say here, if you go back to this, if you see that this trading was done from this Mediterranean via Red Sea, then Arabian Sea, and below is Indian Ocean. And one very important point here to be discussed, that they also by that time discovered the monsoon wind, and thereby the Greek and the Roman sailor make the maximum use of this discovery of the monsoon wind. And it is in fact written there that it was earlier they used to take 3 months to cover this journey, but if they start in certain point, then certain point of the year, then it will actually take 28 days to reach India. So this another very interesting thing I would like to here mention, that the I when I was researching on this topic, I saw that some of the Indian terms, vocabulary has also went into the Roman vocabulary. I mean, some of the Indian words of certain textiles passed into the Roman vocabulary. For example, venti. Venti means as fine as that of the wind. I mean, the cloth, the material was so fine that it is as fine as that of a wind. So the word for that is venti. Nebula. Nebula is misty in nature, a cloth which is quite misty. Gangetica is a muslin from the Gangetic plains. Karvasina, as I said this, it is basically referring to kapas in Sanskrit. Okay, so as I said that it is very, very difficult to look into the entire history in 1 hour. Now I would go into another dimension of textiles. This is the dissemination of the concept and the ideas through trade. Now, the left hand side, there is a fragment of a textile. This textile fragment is found by Sir Orelstein in Central Asia. And this is basically from Central Asia. So that means it is not an Indian origin cloth. But if you look into this cloth, clearly it is ornamented with the Bodhi tree. It refers that the Buddhism, with the ideas of the Buddhism as a forest fire, it was crossing the boundaries of India with the Mahayana Buddhism by the first century CE, and it became the most popular religion in the China. And again, it overpassed Confucianism and other contemporary beliefs, and thereby Buddhism was very, very warmly accepted by the people of China. So with the Southeast Asia, so in Central Asia, some of the very, very old fragments of clothes were found, and these fragments of cloth although from Central Asia, it denotes the representation of the Bodhi Vriksha of India. Now, these fragments where we also see now some of the other cloth fragment. Now, this cloth fragment is like, if you see it clearly, it is a chess design. It is a chess design with the squares, and in every square there are elephant, tiger, and some of the textile fragment also contains lion and the deer. All these motifs are Indian motifs, and these motifs were closely taken up by the Central Asian and the Chinese textiles, and thereby a very well defined dissemination of the culture or was represented through the textile symbols. Now, if we see that this contact was actually from China to India via Central Asia towards Mediterranean via Iran, and it was a cross-continental exchange of idea, technique, as well as decorative motif. We also find some Orelstein also discovers a piece of silk, which is again very interesting to know that it contains an inscription in Brahmi script. And this, what does this indicate? This indicate a flexibility, attitude towards absorption of different elements, and it is a pointed towards cultural exchanges. Now, if you see this one, it is either 5th or 6th century from Central Asia, and this is designed with the pearl roundel. And again, this, and in between this pearl roundel is two peacock. If you can see it clearly, there are two peacock which is facing each other, and having this pearl roundel is absolutely Persian designing. It's a constricted, a little bit constricted. I mean, you are constricting a certain thing into into circles, and it is again been ornamented with another circle, and this pearls, which is typical to India, but the designing is Persian, the motifs are Indian, and it is found from Central Asia. If you again see, this is a remain of a cloth fragment. It is found from Fostat. Fostat is the ancient name of Cairo, and it is relatively new. It is 15th century. But if you look into this piece of cloth, it is designed with the Hamsa or the swan pattern. Now, in the right hand side, if you see, this is one of the women from Ajanta. She is also wearing a blouse which is again ornamented with the Hamsa pattern. I would like to say here there is a UNESCO protected site in China, and this is known as the Tunhuang or Dunhuang cave. And these paintings in the Tunhuang or Dunhuang, we find a clear cut assimilation because it seems that it was slightly Ajanta, it was slightly the ornamentation is Chinese. Some of the motifs were from Persian. So, because it was a halting station for the merchants and the caravans, and also interesting that from Tunhuang Cave we have got Brahmi, Kharoshti, Persian, Tibetan, Turkish, and also Central Asian languages, scripts, manuscripts were found from this Dunhuang cave. This cave, why I have used this slide, is to show the dissemination of culture, admixture of the art forms. So it is the Ajanta painting, it is Roman, it is Greek, it is Persian, it is Chinese. It has all blended harmoniously with each other, and every culture has expanded on its own way. Next, I am now looking into another aspect of textile, which I actually picked out some of the areas for this presentation. Another important aspect of textile, which I wanted to speak, being a woman, what was the women's role in this ancient Indian textile craft? Now, this is a picture, although it's very old and it's not very, I do not know whether you can see it or not, a little hazy, This is from cave number 1 on the left hand side of Ajanta, and this has been identified by G. Yazdani and also later on by D. Stingloff in one of the Journal of Economic and Social History of the Orient. And it shows that the three female are actually engaged in the preparation of the cotton, or they are rather doing a kind of a cotton preparation. If you look into it clearly, if you look into it, they are basically doing the carding of the cotton, carding process of the cotton, and thereby making the cotton, because the cotton threads cannot be easily made, because there are various processes to it. You have to you have to separate the wheat, and then you have to do the carding, then ginning, then spinning. There are many processes before making a thread, so it is representing one of the thread. I would like to say here that Arthashastra has a lot and lot of reference and about the women and their participation in the textile craft. Even the Kama Sutra of the Vatsayana refers to Chausat Kala, or 64 arts, and thereby he is also saying that the women should be well versed with the spinning and textile designing. Arthashastra, I would like to hear come to the importance, because women were in certain conditions, Kautilya writes that in certain conditions they were allowed to take part in textile manufacturing activities. Women workers are not very respectably married. They were mostly old servants. Sometimes they were prostitutes. Sometimes they were women in flower industry or perfume trade, performers in theatrical troupe who are no longer economically viable or cannot earn on their own. They can now become the spinner. Also, the wives of the traders who has gone for the long voyages, they can also do spinning in order to earn livelihood. Spinning was also, according to Arthashastra, is an additional source of income for those women who are parivrajikas, or the ascetics, or it can be also some women who are begging for alms, or maybe the women who has committed any offense, or danda pratikarini. They have to pay the fines, but they do not have the means to earn it, so they can weave and earn to pay back the fine. Crippled women can also join the weaving sector. So we see that not a very respectable thing, but again, what is interesting for us is to see that Arthashastra mentions that there was rigid segregation of the sexes that was maintained in the weaving industry. Women were given such a work which could be carried out only from the home, and they were mainly engaged in spinning of the thread. And under no circumstances, male and female could look into each other, and they were mostly doing their work and matlab, giving their produce to the weaving centers during the early morning. Another very important aspect, coming to the punishment, that the punishment for the women was stricter. Mutilation of the thumb was regarded a normal punishment for women who have received the wages in advance but failed to complete a commission. But it was not, it is hardly applicable for a male weaver for doing the same crime. I could see that there are many students who has joined this session. For them, I would like to say that there is an article by Romila Thapar on the state weaving shops of the Mauryan period. You may read this article, Journal of Indian Textile History. Now I'm entering, and now I'd like to know that how much time do I have, because how much time do I have? Okay. Okay. I'll come to these questions. I'll come to these questions. Okay, ठीक है. तो I will talk for more 10 minutes more. ठीक है. Uh, Okay, so let us look into another aspect of ornamentation, that is ornamentation, textile ornamentation. So, as I said, that textile ornamentation could be gleaned. I'll be a little faster here because I think it has been already 50 minutes. Needlework or embroidery, as could we can see that it was even in the during the Harappan period, because these are all, these are little. It was not actually with the shawl, but rather this was like slightly coming out. So it depicted a embroidery work. Moreover, Kama Sutra, written by Vatsyayana, also refers to Suchi Karma or a needlecraft as one of the 64 arts that the women should know. Now, I have again designed my presentation like that, that since I have started talking about ornamentation, I have given a pictorial reference of a very, very ancient time with a needlework. Now, another needlework is this. This is an example of a fulkari. Very interestingly, फुलकारी हमें मेनली पंजाब में मिलता है अभी. और when we look into the history of fulkari, because I'm talking about needlecraft now, it is actually belong to the Jat peasants, and which was later on taken up by the Punjab, and it was the art comes out of this narrow geographical area and become a custodian of heritage of the Punjab, and thereby maybe I do not know. We find enormous mention of Fulkari in Bana Bhatta's Harshacharit. Not to forget that Harshavardhan, who has actually begun as his political career as a ruler of Thanishwar, and maybe this Thanishwar, which is in present day Punjab, Haryana, and thereby maybe Banabhatta in his court was naturally perceived the spirit of this art form, and Fulkari has been described by Banabhatta as Banabhatta's Harshacharit talks like a divine woman wearing a dazzling muslin robe embroidered with hundreds of diverse flowers and birds. So the description is a clear indication of the brocade. Fulkari. The next important is the brocade. The first slide, which I showed you, and I said that it's very favorite of mine. And this is brocade is using the gold and the silver thread from a very ancient time. We find the mention of the textiles which are dazzling as gold. There are numerous references of brocade in the Vedic literature. But there is also a debate in history where Irfan Habib is saying that the brocade indicates there is a technique which is known as zarvat, and which was introduced to India only during the medieval time. So we cannot say, because the technique of making such a fine golden thread or silver thread was not possible during those times. So it has been criticized by the, and it actually involves a lot of historical debate on the topic. The next I would like to showcase is the resistine. Now, when we talk about resistine, it is ikat, patola, and the bandage or bandhni. So these ikat and patola, these are known as a double ikat, or this is a thing which we, if we look into the Ajanta mural, this is a picture of the Ajanta mural. If you see that these dots are mainly representative of the bandhni, and the stripes here is almost like the ikat. And even Banabhatta's Harshacharit refers to the dyed clothes, and the pulaka bandha or bandha or bandage that we call it today. So pulak bandha or bandha are denoting a prototype of the bandhani clothes. Again, the bridal attire of this bridal attire in bandage is also considered very, very auspicious. And this is spread out in the Western India, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Sindh, Rajputana. And it is, bandhani is a symbol of youth, romance, joy, and unwidowed bliss for the Hindu women. This is from a Jain Sutra text. This is a fragment of the Bandhani, 15th century, found from Fostert. Now I would like to show you some of the fragments which is from 15th century found in Fostert, Egypt, and these are preserved in Calico Museum of Textiles. If you look into these things, these are actually produced in Gujarat and they were traded to Egypt and they were customized according to their designs. If you see can beautiful patterns of the indigo, this is a mirab and this was actually customized according to the people over there. So the next very vital thing is patola. Patola is a very, very complex weave. It is the original patolas are actually made by a particular community, Salvi community of Gujarat, and there are only one or two family left among this community. Others has left this profession. Only two family they are still continuing with this craft because they take commission first before starting with the sari, and these are heavily costly. They are this thing in they are I mean, they are a few lakhs in their worth. And this is again a very, very complex weave. And we again find references of this patola from Lalita Vistar, which is referring to Vichitra Patoloka, and which is from the first century CE reference. So we see that the kind of textiles we wear has a very, very long, long history. Now, I want to delve into another important aspect of textiles. That is, when we are talking about these vibrant colors, so vibrant colors of the Indian textile, where is this colors? Pigments were actually produced from. So, the first, when we look into Kautilya's Arthashastra, he says that there are five primary colors. What are these? Red, yellow, white, blue, and black. All these colors were natural colors. They were produced from plants, animals, and minerals. And thus we see that I have some of the pictures here, but because we have been continuing for a long, long time, I will now try to show some of the picture. This is a red dye. This is again from this red dye is produced. This is again red dye producing flower. And very interestingly, all these flowers also not only have the tinctorial properties, but also healing properties, and they are also mentioned in Ayurveda. Ayurveda also. So it is also produced from the insects. This is from the lac, red was produced. This is the kirmisi or the creamy, and even Barbarossa has also mentioned about the kirmisi. And it is again, we find this cochineal. It is again a kind of insect from which red color was found. Very interestingly, this cochineal is from where the Coca-Cola's color is also also taken, and it is a natural food coloring industry. It uses a vast amount of cochineal. The indigo is one of the most prized thing, and Indian purple was in great demand because it is linked with divinity, with the divinity and with the royalty of the people. And very interestingly, Manusmriti talks that the Brahmin should not take part in this should not touch black color. They should wear white because the making of the purple actually is related with certain kind of a petrification. So it is an impure thing to touch, and thus they are advised to wear white, and rather the black, the rajak, is also considered as one of the lowest rank in the society. Um, I would like to show this picture, and I would now like to wind up my. Just one second. I would now like to say few things before I end of the colors. Basically, we see that the colors are procured from nature, from flora, fauna, minerals, and it is also throughout the world. There are various socio-cultural reflections on the color. The color is the reflection of our unconscious mind. If you look into the places like Kerala, they wear white saris. Bengal, they wear white saris. It's very, very green. But whereas if you look the arid places, you will see the Kutch people, the Gujarat, they were very, very vibrant. And so it is the among the color, red has been again and again very significant in Indian history. It's a powerful stimulus. It is associated with love, fertility, eroticism, and no doubt that is why it is used as the bridal trousseau. And in this context, I would like to also say that in various cultures, they have viewed colors in various perspectives. For example, Iraqis hate, Yazdis hate blue. They say that may you die in blue. It's a devil colors. That among the Australian Aboriginals, they also believe that red is a devil color. So Persian will never mix black with the other color. Every mood is associated with every color. Even the Hindu women who is married is never expected to wear white or black because it is not auspicious. They are advised to wear yellow, saffron, not saffron, yellow, red, bright colors. Similarly, indigo or lac, those who are using this kind of a thing to procure the purple color or black color, they are also socially ostracized because they come under the lowest rung of the society. So the Brahmin householder, as I said, that was only allowed to wear white. So a strict prohibition in our didactic text would be seen. So thereby I end my presentation because there are so many things to tell. I was thinking that how to, put it into some of the important areas, and this is how I have selected. Now I would like to have the questions if you have any.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, how many questions would you be taking?
Let's see how many questions do you have.
We have a question from Pushkar. He has asked, as
Okay.
we know, in the Varnashram system, untouchables and women were excluded from economic participation in society. Can we say that weaving textiles was a path to becoming an inclusive member of the society?
No, weaving was still considered as one of the area which was done by, like for example, the weavers were never, they were coming into the category of the Sudra. They were not even Vaishya. So we can see that the weaving of the textiles was not to become an inclusive member. Rather, they were not untouchable, but untouchable was sometimes the Rajak, the dyers who were actually working with the use of the lac and the petrification process of procuring the black color. Thereby, we see that although these people were so much necessary to the society, but they were actually segregated from the society in terms of the Varna hierarchy. Any other question?
Harsh has asked a question.
Huh.
Satyavahana dynasty had trade relation in context of textile, and in exchange they were getting bullion that we tend to see that lead coin was prevalent in the society, which basically depicts weaker economy.
Mhm. Actually, the Satavahana, it was not Satavahana. Satavahana is in the eastern coast, where we find, and the picture that I shared that through Satavahana, they were mainly trading with the Southeast Asia. So they were actually taking the Buddhism towards Southeast Asia, and with the West, with the Roman Empire, we find that there were very strong connection of trade with the Roman Empire, and there are various sources to tell that this trade was in favor of India, and also particularly Pliny, who is writing, he is lamenting to the Senate that please do something about this trade with India because they are taking away all our Roman gold coin. So it seems that. And again, the Satavahana, I would like to say, the coins which I showed you to in order to show that there were both symbol in the coin to show that there was prevalence of the trading activities among the Satavahanas. Now, any other thing? Any other question?
Navya has
This has to be
asked
the last.
about the
This will be the last question. Okay, Mr.
yes, sir, about the motifs, dyes, and techniques that are used in kalamkari.
Okay. So kalamkari is again a very, very important part of Indian textile heritage, and which is belonging to the printing, right? So the motifs that are used that are exceptionally Indian motif, the flowers and the floras. Basically, the floras are the most important motifs. The essence of the kalamkari is the use of the very bright natural colors and the use of the flowy floral motif, and its beauty is the distinctive printing technology of uh, distinctive printing technology of the Indian master dyers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Aditya. See, the your social hierarchy is defined by the more expensive clothes you are wearing. For example, as I said, that the brocade, which was mainly produced by gold or silver wires by using the gold and silver thread, could not be possibly worn by a common woman. Similarly, if you look into the clothes, for example, the various silk cloth like Kanjivaram of South India, this was a craft which developed in the temple premises of Kanchipuram. And also similarly, the Indian classical dance, Indian classical music, parallelly this kind of textile heritage that became very, very symbolized and with the people of power. And regarding the commoners, they were even from the Ajanta painting, if you look into that Ajanta painting, the social hierarchy is beautifully narrated in the murals of Ajanta, where you will see that you can clearly make out who is a servant woman, who is a royal woman, who is a monastic lady. So this kind of a social hierarchy is clearly visible. Apart from that, I would like to say here one very small instance. For example, purple. Purple is a color of royalty and divinity in Rome. And so nobody else except one belonging to the papal authority or the king, they were not allowed to wear purple color. And that was actually a prohibition. Why? Because they wanted to cut down on the trade with India, and India, from India there's a huge amount of money was being invested in bringing the indigo. And so indigo, on which the Roman was spending a lot, thereby they devised the system that purple should be only the color of the royal authority and the pope. So when we look into the picture, old picture, you will always see a emperor wearing a purple color robe. Emperor Zardozi, yeah, but Zardozi is actually medieval. And on this, the work of Irfan Habib is very important, where he is talking about Zerbaft. So it is actually. So am I been able to answer your question, Aditya? And there was another question on Zardozi. Zardozi is medieval, and on which I mentioned about historical debate of Irfan Habib, along with the ancient historian, who was saying that brocade was already there in India, but Irfan Habib is saying no, no, it can't be there because it's a medieval technology which has came to India with the people from the West. And Zardozi, particularly, I would say it was not in ancient India; it was from the medieval times, particularly Mughal. Anything else?
Thank you, Sanghamitra. Really
Thank
awesome.
you.
We all are mesmerized.
Uh,
Mr. Over to
I
you.
don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words of wisdom. It was truly a fascinating session to learn about the stories that are woven into these textiles. Uh, I now request Dr. Sashi Bhushan, our revered EC member, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
हेलो थैंक यू निशा थैंक यू इनवाइटिंग मी फॉर द वोट ऑफ थैंक्स इससे पहले मैं मैम को धन्यवाद दूं मैं बहुत ब्रीफ में कहूँगा स्पीचलेस रीजन बीइंग इट वाज सो एक्सटेंसिव सो इंफॉर्मेटिव सो एनलाइटिंग पेपर presentation में in fact I was not expecting really से so कि इतना डीप में जा करके आप हमें इतना टाइम देंगे इस पेपर के लिए इस साल इनफैक्ट मुझे भी ये पेपर पढ़ाना है हिस्ट्री ऑफ टेक्सटाइल
अच्छा.
और मैं सोच रहा था कि कितना फ्रूटफुल होगा मेरे लिए फॉर लास्ट 1 आवर आई वाज योर स्टूडेंट मैम तो
My pleasure.
बहुत अच्छा था मैम समर्धन के लिए तो बहुत फ्रूटफुल सेशन रहा हम सबके लिए बहुत फ्रूटफुल सेशन रहा
वैसे
आपने
इस सेशन
जितना
मैं भी पढ़ा रही हूँ ये वाला पेपर, हिस्ट्री ऑफ
अच्छा मैम
टेक्सटाइल्स.
ठीक है मैम आगे आपसे मैं
हाँ.
गाइडलाइन लूंगा मैं
हम्म.
क्योंकि मेरे लिए
हम्म.
पहली बार होगा इस टॉपिक पर
हम्म.
आके पढ़ाना
हम्म.
और मेरे लिए तो बड़ा मुश्किल था जज करना कि आप कितना लंबा एरिया कवर कर गई हैं फ्रॉम इजिप्ट टू ताइचे चाइना और फ्रॉम लाओस टू मतलब इनमें से कि ईरान इराक सीरिया टर्की एरिया और फ्रॉम सिल्क रूट टू कोचीन मतलब पेरिप्लस टू एथियन सी टू अर्थशास्त्रा अथर्ववेदा टू वाराणसी सिल्क from Irfan Habib to Romila Thapar. It was really enlightening, man. Really
Thank you.
enlightening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks word तो बहुत औपचारिक है. So from our core of hearts, man, we are really grateful. We are really thankful to you, man.
Thank you.
संवर्धन पूरी टीम की तरफ से आपका बहुत बहुत आभार. बच्चों की तरफ से विशेष आभार मैम क्योंकि इन लोगों के ही मतलब पार्टिसिपेशन और एक्टिविज्म से हम लोग मैम काम कर पाते हैं
बिल्कुल.
तो आप बच्चों का भी बहुत बहुत आभार हमारी चेयरपर्सन साहिबा है मैम युतिका मैम उनका भी बहुत आभार वेद भाई का बहुत आभार और सभी मित्रों का संवर्धन टीम की तरफ से बहुत बहुत आभार मैम पुनः आपका बहुत आभार मैम थैंक
Thank
यू
you.
सो मच
Thank you. Thank you.
ओवर टू यू निष्ठा
I would also like to extend a thanks on behalf of the Youth Forum of Samvardhan. First of all, I would like to thank our review DC members, Shashi sir, Yutika ma'am, Ved sir, for helping us in organizing this session. Other than that, I would like to thank our interns, everyone who took part in the organization of this wonderful event. Moving on, I would like to thank Sanghamitra ma'am herself for such a wonderful session. We truly had a lot of fun while learning about textile, something we didn't think would be as much interactive or as much interesting to begin with. But you opened up an entirely new side of it. I would also like to thank Priyanjana for helping me in organizing this event and the nuances of getting into this. With that, I would like to tell everyone one thing that today is our General Secretary Sir Vedbrat Tiwari Sir's birthday. So, on behalf of the entire team of Samvardhan, I would like to wish him many, many happy returns of the day. And I would like to thank him for everything he has done for the organization in the capacity that he has been in. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Over to you, Nishta.
So, with this, we would conclude the session. Thank you everyone for joining. You can follow us on our social media handles or visit the website to stay tuned for the upcoming events. Thank you so much. Have a good day.